You're now on the road beyond. I'm Todd Duplantis, and tonight we're going to be taking you to places both far and near. Good to have you with us on the show. Very excited about this show because we're talking about something a little different for all of us. My co-host, Ike McFadden, joins me as well. Good to see you, Ike.
Hey, Todd. How are you doing? Looking forward to this.
So, Ike, before we get into the show, we're going to talk about a few things. Of course, coronavirus been all over the news. I'd say for the past year or so, if you would agree. And many of us are getting our vaccination. I had a vaccination, my first one, a few weeks ago. You've had both doses. Most recently, you had your second. What happened?
I had the second one, I guess it was 2 days ago. And the first one was no problem. The second dose, I was flat on my back for a day. It was pretty unpleasant. But since it kind of cleared up, I realized, you know what? Bill Gates is a really nice guy, and I think he's just looking out for the best of us. I bought a lot of Microsoft stock, and I just feel good about everything now.
Well, it's always good, to feel good about those things. And imagine a virus, and we joked about this earlier, that you don't get sick on all year long, but then they give you a vaccination to prevent it, and that makes you sick. Isn't that a little weird?
Yeah, well, when we were talking, I said, imagine a virus that's deadly and yet still needs a PR campaign internationally.
There you go. Yeah. So more on the virus next week as we talk about what happens with me with my second dose of the shot. Hopefully I won't be as bad off as Ike was. But hey, Ike, tonight we're going to learn more about a form of mental and spiritual healing, something called Theta healing. It's a type of therapy, and this type of therapy involves a trained person working with others through meditation, prayer, and at times channeling to create a positive lifestyle. Our guest tonight, in fact, is a practicing Theta healer.
Yeah, that's right. That is Sarah Levy, also known as Moon Mama. She is an intuitive healer who uses a combination of modalities, including Theta healing, tarot cards, clairvoyance, clairaudience, mediumship, astrology, and muscle testing.
And of course, Sarah says she's learned each of these modalities through her own healing journey and experiences. After battling with severe anxiety and depression for 12 years and enduring several toxic relationships and hitting the rut in the corporate world, well, she decided to dedicate her life to healing herself from inside out.
Yeah, and I'm certainly familiar with hitting a rut in the corporate world, so I have a lot of sympathy for that. Sarah likes to share what she's discovered from working with others who are ready to create a more fulfilling life for themselves. She's also a clothing, art, and brand content designer, as well as a vegan foodie and chef. So welcome to the show, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. We've gone through a bit of it in the intro, but for those of us like me who are maybe a little bit ignorant, what exactly is Theta healing?
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so Theta healing is one of the modalities that I work with, and it is where I connect to higher power, source, God, your highest self, whatever term works for you. And I channel belief systems that were taken on likely at a young age in your subconscious, and I shift them so that your conscious reality shifts with that.
And Sarah, let me ask you this, because you mentioned spiritual and religious. Does someone have to be religious or spiritual or believe in a higher power, at least, to partake in Theta healing? Can they be healed if they're agnostic?
Absolutely. So the key here is the practitioner does all the work. So this is why I try to use the terms interchangeably, highest self or creator or source or whatever works for you, because really you're just getting back to who you are at a true level, and I help to get you back there. So no matter what you believe in, I can do the healing for you, and you're just going to tap into your highest and best version of yourself. So great question, but yeah, you can believe in whatever you believe in.
So, well, that raises an interesting question. Well, what exactly do you believe, if you had to nail it down?
Well, wow, that's quite a question. So in a nutshell, I'll say, I was raised Catholic my entire life. Always just didn't feel right to me. So when I really got into this, I really started digging into who I am, what I believe, what I was told to believe. And I've come to a space where I believe source, God, creator is an energy. It's not what humans like to think of it as, let's be real, a white male that we look up to, and he punishes us if we're right or wrong, right? I really don't like to look at it that way. I think it's just us tapping into our highest selves, and we're a piece of that energy. You know, we're created from the energy that is creator, and we're just a part of that. So,
Sarah, let me ask you this. You were raised Catholic. Obviously, this type of healing isn't really practiced in the church. It may be frowned upon. I was raised Catholic as well, and still recovering from that myself. But how did you become a Theta healer? And did you always have this inside of you, number one? And number two, what type of training did you have to do to become a Theta healer?
So, yes, I will say that I do believe that I always had it within me. Was I able to tap into it? No. That's part of where I really found a love for this work, is that I worked through the beliefs that I took on through conditioning of religion and, you know, your upbringing and what society says you're supposed to be. I've worked through those beliefs, and that's what really tapped me into being connected, right? So I find, yes. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
How did you train to be a Theta healer?
Right. So, yeah, you mentioned in the beginning, I kind of got to my point where, you know, I was working corporate. I was miserable, making great money. You know, I left my most recent relationship with my son's father, and I just kind of hit rock bottom for I don't even know how many times, you know what I mean? And I was actually introduced to it by my sister, who trained with a friend, and we just started really digging into the beliefs, and it's kind of just skyrocketed from there, right?
So let me ask you this question. I read that you did some work as a medium, or that's involved in this. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I don't know much about that. Just explain it to me.
Yeah, I just like to kind of hit on a lot of the words, because what I do is, some people would call it psychic, some people would call it medium. To me, when you're connected to your highest self, you do have a form of psychic abilities, right? So I not only hear messages, but I see pictures, or I see things come through. But I have also, actually, about a year ago when I was in Costa Rica, I discovered that I can connect with spirits that are on the other side, which I was not aware of. So kind of came to me as a surprise. But yeah, since then, so I can connect to the other side. I'm pretty picky about making sure that I'm not connecting to anything dark or, you know, nasty. But yeah, so.
Okay, so let's dig into that, because I want to hear more about the connecting with the other side, because that sounds like you just found this out when you were in Costa Rica. Tell me about the experience. Do you see dead people? Do spirits come to you? How does that work, and what exactly do you see? Because that always fascinates me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, I've noticed, connecting with more healers, that we all experience it differently, actually. So, like, for instance, my sister, she sees things vividly. I do, but I actually hear things way more than I see them. So we were in Costa Rica, and my sister and I, actually, if you can't tell, she's my closest friend. We were driving in a taxi, and our taxi driver just started getting really upset, talking about he's been down. And I kind of, you know, asked, is there something you'd like to share? And he told me that his brother passed. Didn't think much of it, you know. We're driving a little further, and then I start just hearing messages. Just the downloads are coming in. He's wanting me to tell his brother he's been really angry lately, and he sees him and he wants him to let the pain go. And I was caught off guard. So I kind of tapped my sister and was like, is this something I should share, or should I keep this to myself? You know, because not everyone's open to it. Let me be honest with you. Yeah. So I decided, when we got out of the car, I said, Sarah, just say it. Just, you know, however he reacts, whatever, but share the message. So I did. And he instantly broke down in tears and was like, I don't know how you knew. Like, just, it was touching. And from that moment on, I was like, wow. So I just kind of started inviting in the experiences, because, like I said, I have major boundaries with the work I do. I don't just let anything come through. Yeah. I connect with my ancestors, my spiritual guides, and I ask if there are spirits that want to come through, and if, you know, they want to talk. But yeah.
Ike, I think we lost you. There we go.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What you said, you were picky about what you connected to, and you tried not to connect with negative entities or so forth. How do you know the difference?
So, first, before, like, let's say someone comes to me for a session and specifically wants to connect with someone who's passed. I'm going to sit ahead of the session. I'm going to sit with my ancestors, my highest self, and my creator and all that. And I'm going to ask that they reveal whether this is something that is safe for me, safe for the person, or if they're ready to. It seems to be more of a, if people are ready to hear it type of situation. But also, we didn't mention earlier, but I use a form of kinesiology called muscle testing that uses the biomagnet centers in your body. So my subconscious, if I say yes, I cannot break these apart. And if I say no, they do break. It's a little bit out there, but it helps to just further let me know what my subconscious is trying to tell me. So if I were to say, is this spirit safe to come through? Not only am I going to get an answer from my ancestors and my highest self, I'm also going to muscle test it to just further ensure.
Explain, I'm sorry, tell me the muscle testing thing again.
Muscle testing. So my muscles react to what my subconscious is trying to say to me. So for instance, when I say yes, and it's a positive energy, my fingers, if you can see them, there's different ways to do it. Some people do it with their arms, but my fingers stay locked. Now, if I say no, they're able to break apart. So I can just tap in even further to if my subconscious is trying to tell me something.
You know, Sarah, I've witnessed one of your sessions with a client, you know, to get an idea of how you do things. And one thing I notice is you seem to at times go in in terms of not knowing better what to say, go into a trance. And you close your eyes and you seem to be talking to someone else besides the people in the room. And I have seen you do the things with your hands. And tell me more about that trance that you go into. You're connecting with spirit guides. What's happening there?
I am. So typically, yes, when I'm in a session like that, what I'm connecting to is my spiritual guides. Also, at the beginning of any session, I ask the client if I can welcome in their spirit guides as well, so that I can get the best read. But yeah, so I'm in a form of meditation, prayer, trance, whatever you want to call it, where I'm able to channel the messages of what our spiritual guides, because when they're on the other side, they're just trying to lead us, you know, where our soul wants to go, right? So they help me to channel the beliefs that come through, the any like physical, spiritual, mental, all the healings. So that's what you will see, yes. And then, like I just said, I just double check myself with the muscle testing. It's just kind of I know it's right, but I just like to do it as a form of physical reassurance.
Right. So as an intuitive healer, let's say I or a friend was looking for someone like that, how would I go about finding one or determining if they're any good? Or, I mean, I don't even know what the boundaries of this are. What would I be looking at?
Right. So, you know, like I said earlier, everyone, especially with healers, we really all have our own little thing. So I typically will send, you know, a little intro packet, but more importantly, I'll share my social medias, like my Instagram and stuff, because I do post. I don't do a lot of my Theta healing on Instagram because that's more of a personal thing, but I do my tarot card readings so that people can get a feel for just my energy. I have found, though, in this industry, you know, more likely than not, people are skeptical. So I really like to sometimes even just have like a 30-minute intro, even over Zoom or anything, to just bring in a couple messages to kind of, because when I start channeling and I'm saying things that you're like, how would you know that? Yeah. I don't know you, I've never met you. That's when people start to go, okay, I'm intrigued. I want to know more, right?
Yeah, you mentioned, and you were talking about the different things you do, and you bring a lot into your sessions, I've noticed. Clairvoyance, tarot cards, mediumship. Let's talk about, and you also channel spirits as well. Let's talk about the certain things like tarot cards. Is that usual for someone to bring into a Theta healing session? And is this like an added extra that you offer to your clients?
I have not. You know, I'm only so far, but I have not witnessed anyone who does them in the same, right? That's kind of where, you know, on these past 2 to 3 years that I've been kind of discovering who I am and what I do, I've tried to put myself in a box, and I realized that when I got around that and I said, oh, I do enjoy doing tarot and the Theta and I put it all into one ball, and I find that it really works for me and my clients because I touch on such different things, right? And like you've seen, I do all of them in one session, right? So I haven't seen, it's usually pretty split. Like I have tons of tarot people I follow, but it's just tarot. And for me, I thought it's not enough. Like it's so much for someone to tell you a message like this is going to happen, or, this is how you're feeling. But then what? How can I actually change my life? So that's where the Theta healing came in, to where I take it a step further and we actually shift the beliefs to change your life, right?
This may be a kind of a stupid question, but
Never.
do you do tarot card readings like over Zoom?
I actually offer everything I do via Zoom and in person. Mainly because I had to adapt to guys. Yeah. Like I quit my corporate job right before COVID hit and really jumped into all this. And it just has kind of worked. I doubted myself if that's possible, but I can tap into the energy just as easily on here as I can in person. So.
Okay, that's interesting. All right.
That's a lot for the human brain sometimes to conceptualize. But again, once you go through the sessions, it's kind of like, whoa, okay.
Well, the one thing about COVID is I've noticed is that people are more accepting to the virtual world than we were 13 months ago. Not many people were using Zoom before March of 2020, and here we all are using it in a daily life. Are you finding that your clients are more open to doing the Zoom sessions and being open to believe what you're telling them and where you're going with the therapy?
Absolutely. Because again, it's a results driven thing, right? We're humans. We like to see an actual thing happen, so, right. I think at first it was a little skeptical, but again, I probably have half and half right now. And I tend to find, and I think this is a generational thing, I tend to find actually that my older clients like me in person. And I think that's more of a personable thing. I don't think it's that they believe it doesn't work. It's that they want to see me in person. They want to feel my energy. They want to interact. Right. But a lot of my younger clients, they love Zoom. It's easy. A lot of them are working moms like me, single moms. So if I can record it and then send it and then we can meet after they put the kids to bed, it's a great, it works for them. So.
Okay. So if someone wants to get in touch with you and schedule a session, how do they go about doing that?
Okay, perfect. So the easiest way I would say is to go to my Instagram. And on my Instagram, I have an actual book now button that brings you to my schedule and you can pick. It's very easy. Date, time, all that. My Instagram, do you just want me to spell it out for everybody?
Go ahead, spell it out for us.
So it is Moon Mama, but it's M0ON_MAM9.
Okay, and then we'll have that in the social media. Yeah. We'll have your handle in the social media post for this show as well. Sarah, I want to thank you for being here, folks. If you're interested in Theta healing, therapy, intuitive healing, it's all available, and you can contact Sarah Levy on Instagram. Thanks for being here, Sarah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
Bye.
So Ike, so I had a chance to witness one of her sessions, and I've got to admit the person I was with was more or less a skeptic, and the person did tell me when they left the session, they could literally felt like they had a breath of air that went all the way through them, starting from their head to their toes, and felt very invigorated at the session. And Sarah didn't mention this, but apparently one of the things with Theta healing is after these therapy sessions, when she works with you, the healing continues because she also works on her own for the clients after the session. So it's kind of an interesting concept, a little bit new age, but it's out there, as one of the ways we can try to deal with this crazy world we're living in.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to be too specific about this, but the person who you witnessed the session with, what were they going there to try to heal or fix, or what was the issue?
There wasn't really any overall main issues. It was more or less seeing what the healing was all about and looking at maybe bettering their life, and I think when you go into these sessions, you don't have to go in with a major issue like I have a major trauma in my life. Some people are just looking to better their lives, maybe be better professionally or have personal relationships at work more efficiently or better for you. And that's kind of what this person was looking for.
Okay, so it's sort of like a spiritual life coach sort of a thing?
Exactly. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of putting it. She'd probably like that term too, spiritual life coach. So there you go. There's your Theta healing. Okay, folks, it's time for the news. Here's a look at some of the weird, tantalizing, and just plain bizarre stories posted from our partners on the Full Spectrum Project on Facebook. Now, Ike, we've got some interesting stories for tonight. And Nathan, our director, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, if that works with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so you can take a look at some of these. All right, there we go. All right, we're going to pull up the first story, Ike. Okay, here we go. This, you remember the Amityville Horror?
I do. Yeah. I mean, that was, to me, that was one of the really prime scary movies, like up there with The Exorcist when I was a kid that I remember.
It was definitely one of the best ones. It was iconic in the 70s. People read the book. Everybody saw the movie with James Brolin when he went crazy. Well, it was based on Ronald DeFeo Jr., who massacred his whole family back in 1974, shot him, and then blamed it on spirits. He blamed it on a pig, which we'll get to in a moment, blamed it on a pig and all types of crazy things. Well, DeFeo was sent to prison for 25 years to life or whenever they want to let him out. And he was serving that sentence, 69 years old. And guess what? He turns up dead behind bars.
And that's interesting because when I massacred my whole family, I didn't have the foresight to blame a pig. And now that I think about it, it seems so obvious.
Well, here's the caveat to this story. He's still dead, not coming back, right? As far as we know. But he was convicted when he was 23 years old. His story was based on spirits, which they went ahead and made the movie on, right? Okay, killed his whole family. Well, a reporter went in 1986 to interview him. And from what the reporter said was that DeFeo recanted his story and said that he wasn't insane. It was his sister and his mother who were the masterminds behind the killings. Of course, no one bothered to believe him back then.
Well, actually, you know what? That makes some amount of sense because I do think when you hear these, tragic stories of people who massacre their whole families, you think clearly they didn't have a good childhood at best.
Yeah, at best, and at worst, well, they're a mass murderer. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next story because this is definitely one of our favorites. The Vermont Pig Man. Have you heard of the Vermont Pig Man?
I have not, but I noticed we have a theme today. Pigs.
That's right. Could have been possibly informed, could have been part of the Amityville Horror. I don't know. But in Vermont, who knows what the heck's going on down there? Back in 1971, Ike, a farmer in Northfield, Vermont, apparently went on his farm to investigate some strange noises. Guess what he found?
Bernie Sanders?
Well, close, but no. Actually, I know don't want to insult Bernie. But he found what he was thinking was a rather large man who looked like a pig man. Think Bigfoot. Okay, you're following me here? Bigfoot, but a pig. There you go. He was his body was covered in white hair, and he had the facial features of a pig. So they called out the police. The police showed up with the dogs, didn't find anyone. The pig man got away. And they thought, well, this was just a crazy report. Well, not only that, but later on, there have been more sightings of the alleged pig man. And apparently, to this day, it's a rural legend in Northfield where nighttime travelers claim they encountered the pig man while driving their car along the deserted country roads. A white, hairy, white beast, very large, very tall, with the face of a pig, shows up in the front of their car. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there because that's all we know about the pig man. I think the last sighting was in 2015, Ike. So.
And when was the last time Bernie Sanders was in Vermont?
You're trying to draw this correlation. I'm not going to go down that road because we'll get hate mail. You're going to get it started.
I have nothing against Bernie Sanders, but he is from Vermont, isn't he?
Asking for the Bernie supporters to go at us. But anyway, yeah, Vermont. There you go. There's the tie-in. But no. So the pig man in Vermont apparently still alive and well. We'll ask our next guest. If you're watching us on Facebook Live right now, stick around because we've got another show starting at 7:30. Our next guest is a Bigfoot specialist. So we'll ask him about Pigman, Dogman, and all of the other men that are out there in the woods. So there you go.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right, folks, check out our YouTube channel. Make sure if you're watching us now, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called The Road Beyond. Find us under Road_Beyond, all lowercase. And you can also watch some of other shows on there. And like I said, another episode coming up live at 7:30 on Facebook Live. We'll always have these shows on our YouTube channel. And Ike, we'll see you at the next show. Have a great time.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
We'll see you shortly.